2025 was the year that Meghan Markle thought she was going to finally put to rest all of this speculation in regards to her pregnancy. But when she released a video of herself, filmed apparently in hospital just before the birth of one of her children, dancing like a maniac, indeed what happened is that lots of prominent commentators, including Megyn Kelly, said, actually, this does look like a moon bump to me. So it was a massive own goal. God forbid we do have to watch this video again.
When the song come on, let me see you get gone. Baby mamas, this your song. Been pregnant for way too long. Let's tell the DJ turn it on. Turn it on.
If she a baby mama,
Go ahead.
she gon' do that baby mama.
Work.
She gon' put it on you. She gon' do that baby mama. Drop,
Drop it down, down low.
drop,
Drop it down, down low.
drop,
Drop it down low. Do the baby mama when I step out on the floor. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, oh. Hit the baby mama when I'm stepping through the door. Yeah, I'm pregnant, but I got an ill flow. Tryna make some money, buy some huggies from the store. S to the T-A, double R-K, to the E-I-S-H-A. And I don't play, doing my way. Preggo, but I'm still doing moves like Beyonce. Yeah, I said I'm pregnant, get the child support and pay my rent. Pay my rent, your opinion is irrelevant, cause I'm a baby mama, I can do just what I wanna. Turn up.
If she a baby mama, she gon' do that baby mama.
Work.
She gon' put it on you. She gon' do that baby mama. Drop,
Drop it down low.
drop,
Drop it down low. Drop it down low.
I'm just watching Ben Habib's face. Dominic Frisby, look, this was in Los Angeles, of course, because it was when she was pregnant with Lily, the second baby. There's a whole load of consternation about what actually went on with Archie. I was covering that birth. It was all very odd. And, you know, the official announcement was that she was in labor when, in fact, she was already back to Kensington Palace. They didn't use the Royal Hospital. They didn't use the Royal Doctors. So this video was clearly released to sort of say, hey, I was definitely pregnant. Here I was. But it was one of those massive own goals because, indeed, this moon bump theory, which people like me and Lady Colin Campbell have spoken about for a long time, all of a sudden went mainstream because you had Megyn Kelly and others talking about it.
What is moon bump theory?
Well, basically, it suggests that Meghan didn't actually give birth to these children and that she was wearing a prosthetic bump. And of course, lots of medical experts have come out looking at that video and saying it's just impossible for someone who's literally 9 months pregnant and about to give birth to dance in that way.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm speakers. I became a granddad about a month ago, and my daughter-in-law and my son, thank you, they both live with me. And, you know, in the last couple of weeks when it's due to drop, the mum is just so desperate to get the baby out. And, you know, Millie, my daughter-in-law, you know, there are all sorts of weird exercises that you're told to do, and probably the name of whatever she was twerking. Is that twerk? I don't even know.
Twerking is when you wiggle your body.
Well, she was kind of wiggling her bum.
It's called a slut drop. And this was the baby mama dance, which was a bit of a trend.
Well, so maybe she was doing all of that to try and, you know, get the thing out. I will say this about her. She like I grew up in a theatrical family. I've just known so many women like that over the years. She just is an actress.
Yeah.
She's just a pure actress, and everything she does, like I actually thought she was dancing quite well. And I was surprised at how good a dancer even Harry was, assuming that was Harry. And
yes, it was. That was Harry. We can confirm that.
But I thought, I looked at that, and now I don't believe she goes to like whatever clubs that you would go to where people dance like that. But she's just like an actress. She just knows how to behave. You know, I want to be a princess, so I'll act being a princess for a while. And she knows. She probably watched some people dancing like that in videos, whatever, and was just able to copy it because actresses are really good at that. And then she craves attention, but ultimately everything is about attention, and that was just another example of that.
Yeah,
but she was dancing quite well.
I mean, there's nothing regal about it, is there? Given this is a woman who retains the title, the Duchess of Sussex.
That was, I mean, apart from the fact that she was very flexible. And I was marveling at it. I was thinking, my goodness, how can she? I can't do that and I'm not pregnant. But the thing that strikes me is her lack of understanding and recognition of the role that she had or has in the royal family. And, you know, both of them have been on the record repeatedly saying they don't want to be living their lives through the lens of a camera and in a goldfish bowl and all of that. And then they take the camera into the most private of rooms where you're about to deliver your baby. Do you remember when Diana was delivering Harry or William? There was complete quiet. No one knew. Cameras couldn't get even anywhere near the hospital.
Sure, but we
let
didn't have
alone
mobile
in the room.
phones then.
What?
We didn't have mobile phones then.
But it was so private, and there's a dignity with privacy.
Yes.
And I certainly wouldn't, if I were pregnant, dance like, well, I can't. But I wouldn't bring cameras into my privacy.
I hear what you're saying, but once you realise she's an actress and all she wants is attention,
But it's
and
just,
she wants the
but
attention
isn't
when
it
it's on
all
her
just
terms,
this
that's just how
total
she
juxtaposition in her positions. Because, Ben, remember, Meghan Markle refused to leave the Lindo wing. She didn't go and give birth at the Lindo wing, which is what most royals do, because remember, you get that moment on the doorsteps when we see the heir to the throne for the first time. Remember, Charles and Diana left the Lindo wing, and then William and Catherine quite famously
St.
left
Mary's.
the Lindo wing.
Yeah.
Yes. And she refused to do that because she said that would be an invasion of her privacy. But then she goes and releases that video.
Well, then, I agree. I'm not a Meghan Markle fan, and I don't defend her. And there's all sorts of inconsistencies and hypocrisies. But you know, she's an actress. She's not the brightest cookie in the basket. There's no way Kate would do anything like that. But
No,
she's
thank
a princess.
God.
The clip opens with a line designed to shock medical experts allegedly questioning whether a woman 9 months pregnant could move like that. This isn't subtle skepticism. This is an outright challenge to Meghan Markle's credibility. The accusation is simple but devastating. This video was meant to shut down rumors and instead poured fuel on them. Here's the psychological framing. Meghan doesn't just enjoy attention, she requires it. The claim is that the pregnancy video wasn't about privacy, joy, or motherhood, it was about being seen, even at the most intimate moment imaginable. That contradiction, we want privacy versus here's the hospital room, is the through line of the entire Sussex saga. The panel argues 2025 was supposed to be the year Meghan finally buried the so-called pregnancy conspiracy. Instead, releasing a dancing hospital room video triggered the exact opposite reaction. High-profile commentators, not fringe voices, openly questioned it. What was meant to be a full stop became a headline-making own goal. This is the moment the discussion crosses from online whispers into mainstream media. The moonbump theory, long dismissed as internet nonsense, suddenly gets oxygen because the visuals don't align with public expectations. Whether true or not, the damage is reputational. Once a question goes mainstream, it never fully disappears. Not everyone agrees. A counter-argument is offered. Late-stage pregnancy can involve extreme movement, discomfort, and unconventional exercises. But even defenders concede something important. This was still a deliberate performance, not a private moment. This is one of the harshest character assessments. The argument isn't that Meghan is lying, it's that everything is a performance. Princess. Victim. Activist. Mother. Different roles, same spotlight. And that's where the criticism bites hardest. Royalty is not theatre. The panel contrasts Meghan with Diana and Catherine. No cameras. No choreography. No monetization. Just dignity and privacy. Here, Meghan is accused of fundamentally misunderstanding what royal status demands: restraint, not visibility. This is the contradiction viewers are meant to focus on. Refuses the Lindo wing over privacy, rejects the traditional hospital steps, yet films inside the delivery room and releases it publicly. The message from critics is blunt: privacy only matters when she doesn't control the camera. Catherine becomes the unspoken comparison point. No theatrics. No contradictions. No confusion. This isn't accidental, it reinforces the idea that Meghan's behavior is not modern royalty, but celebrity culture wearing a crown. The focus shifts, and it gets darker. Prince Harry, alone, unprotected, knocking on a stranger's door in London. For a man who insists he's unsafe without taxpayer-funded security, this image is deeply unsettling. The implication: something is very wrong. Critics hammer the contradiction again. Harry claims London is too dangerous. Yet he wanders the streets alone. Security, they argue, is not about fear, it's about leverage.
Speaking of not very regal at all, but this moment actually, I think, signifies something potentially much more disturbing about the downfall of Prince Harry, because it was the truly bizarre moment when a doorbell camera caught the, prince who remains in the line of succession on his own, knocking on a stranger's door with no security by himself in London. Apparently, we were told, looking for a friend. Now, the photo sparked speculation that the Duke may have been doing something more nefarious, but of course we don't know. What we certainly do know is that he doesn't seem to be a particularly happy man. This is what Alex Phillips had to say about it on Outspoken earlier this year.
Detail, at least 24 hours notice, saying this is the address, go and do a reconnaissance beforehand. Peter Blex is absolutely right on this. I know people with security details who have to follow this protocol every single day of the week. And so it does smack in the face of, I need security and I'm really scared, but only when I want it.
Yeah, I mean, I found the whole thing completely bizarre. And look, he does look wired. He looks wired. And it's very odd what's going on with Prince Harry. I don't think we can deny the fact that we are seeing some type of very public meltdown. Now, Dominic Frisby, this picture genuinely did cause concern though, right? Because what on earth is this dude who claims that he is so unsafe in London? Do you know he's having these huge arguments with his dad, and even today continues to campaign Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary, to be given security because he claims he is so unsafe in Sadiq Khan's London. Well, in some ways, I agree with that. We're all unsafe. It's not because you're a prince, right? We're all totally unsafe. I've been mugged twice. But he's wandering the streets, looking for a random house of some friends who've apparently moved out. This was weird. You've got to admit.
Well, yeah, I have to confess, this is the first time I've actually heard the story. I don't follow the news that closely, and I didn't know, I wasn't aware of it at the time. Yeah, it does look like he was a little bit off his face. And I know in my younger years, if I'd had a heavy night and found myself wandering around, I've often sort of walked up to strangers and asked for help, maybe once, I don't know, but and knocked on doors, and yeah, it does look like a bloke is slightly off his tits wandering around. But again, I sort of defend the inconsistency of that couple because I just don't think they're the brightest sparks.
But Ben Habib, obviously there is a serious point to Harry and security, right? Because the only reason that King Charles agreed to meet with him this year, and remember, William had warned his father and said that this was a mistake. But Charles agreed because you'll remember Harry this year lost his case against the Home Office in terms of us, the British taxpayer, funding his security, which is what he wants, with no questions asked anytime he arrives here, even though he is no longer a working royal. Well, Yvette Cooper obviously gets moved out of the Home Secretary brief and becomes Foreign Secretary literally a couple of weeks after Harry's meeting with King Charles. Harry starts a new lobbying campaign to the new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, who he assumes is going to, for some reason, be more open to providing him state-funded security. And all of a sudden, Harry has damaged his father again because Charles is so acutely aware that he cannot be in contact with his son if his son is going to continue a legal claim against his own government, right? It's messy.
It's bizarre. I mean, what he should do is get in a dinghy, come across the channel, and then he'll be looked after like a royal.
So true. So true.
No, it is bizarre. I mean, he needs a lot of growing up. It's not just about being thick, is it? Though,
no,
Dominic?
It's being naive, and he's never had to do anything himself.
Well,
but surely they can pay for their own security.
Dominic,
it is that. It is.
And remember, he was warned of this. I mean, everyone at the time said there are going to be certain repercussions if you leave the British royal family, including, by the way, Charles and William and the late Queen Elizabeth II, who said, look, we're only going to be able to provide you security for a year because Charles personally funded it for that year-long transition period, and Harry knew that.
He's just a bit simple, and he's been brainwashed by his wife, is my theory.
That's it. He's been brainwashed by his wife. I think he's a soul that's bereft.
Yeah.
And he's lost his anchor, which was his family and the royal, the royal connection that he had. And he's got this woman who's a complete performance artist, wanting every shilling that she can get out of her fame. And he's backing his wife. And actually, it's a very sad thing to see unfold.
Yeah, it's like he's married a wrong un.
He has.
Yeah.
I do a song, they had wealth and fame, or a manner of success. What more could they have wished for? They were prince and princess. All they had to do was smile and toe the line. Instead, Meghan and Harry just whinged and whined.
Oh my God, brilliant.
So the Queen kicked them out of the royal family.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, that sums it up. Brilliant Dominic Frisby number. At number 5 in our countdown, we are nearly there. The worst moments of 2025. And this was the disgraceful and dishonest panorama edit of President Trump's speech that manipulated viewers into thinking he incited storming the Capitol on January the 6th. Of course, this only was revealed this year. What?
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
And Ben Habib, I mean, the BBC remains in crisis. The mainstream media might not want to talk about this, but they have no director general. They have no head of news as a result of this. Donald Trump remains committed to suing them. And there's a huge arrogance from the chairman of the BBC who doesn't seem to think that they've done anything wrong.
I mean, they apologise and they say, well, sue us if you want to. We couldn't care less. And for me, this is the first smoking gun that we've got on the BBC. Yes. We've all known that they were anti-Brexit. They've been anti-anything that's pro-nation, pro-British, half-sensible approach to our energy policy. They're completely climate nutcase gone mad. All of that. We've known all of that. But this was a smoking gun from someone within the organisation who is responsible for their internal accountability. Michael Prescott, I think his name was. And he came out and he published this report. And when you see...
Well, it was leaked.
It was leaked
to the Daily Telegraph.
Sorry, yeah.
So they never formally ever wanted us to know this, Ben.
He wrote to the board.
Could just discuss it
He wrote to the board,
didn't
he? Yeah, he wrote to the board. Sorry, forgive me. And it's come out in public. And thank goodness it's come out in public, because when you take that speech that President or Trump made just after he'd lost that last election, and you edit it the way that they've edited it, it is designed to cancel President Trump. It's designed entirely to discredit him. Mm-hmm. And what it has done...
Before the election as well? So you could argue it's electoral interference?
Electoral interference. And what they've done is absolutely reveal where they stand on the political spectrum. And that was Panorama, their showcase revelationary program.
Yeah.
And they need to be defunded, I'm afraid.
Well, they do. I mean, it's astonishing, of course, because Panorama is also the TV program that Prince William claims led to the death of his mother because of the completely dishonestly procured interview by Martin Bashir. Yet, because it's the BBC, these failures are just allowed to continue.
I know. It's really bad what they did. I can't emphasize how bad it is. And, the Trump inciting the violence on January the 6th became a huge part of the left-wing narrative. And we now know it was based on a fraud. And since the revelations, defenders of the BBC, I watched Alistair Campbell give a speech and he said, they made a mistake. No, that was not a mistake. That was fraud.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just one producer. That was a team.
No way.
That was a team of people did that. And Panorama is, documentaries like that are supposed to cleave for the truth. They're not supposed to be propaganda. And they are trusted. And, the left complain all the time about fake news on the right. They complain about it non-stop. And we have to, this whole thing, we have to trust the experts because of all the fake news on the media. Well, there is the expert, guilty of a major fraud. And I think it's really serious and really grave. And like you, I think the BBC should be voluntary. It should go to subscription only, and those that want it can have it. But it should not be forced down everyone's throats. Excuse me. I'm choking on my own words. I really am.
Ben Habib, you come in.
And yeah, it shouldn't be forced down everyone's throats. And people need to realise it is lies, and leftist propaganda.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree. I agree. Actually, couldn't agree more. At number 4, in our countdown of the worst of 2025, Mike Graham, the star presenter of Talk TV, the highest rated presenter of Talk TV, axed, sacked, gone from the mainstream media despite a decades-long career over a social media post the broadcaster deemed as racist. But remember, Mike claims to this day he never posted it and that his account was hacked. Now, Mike made his comeback in the independent media. He's doing incredibly well. Talk isn't. And he gave his first exclusive interview to Outspoken. Watch.
There were people in the building who didn't want me to go, whereas there were also people in the building who did, for all sorts of reasons, you know, and maybe not this one. So it sort of, it ceased becoming about the post in the end, and it more became about how are we going to get out of this with any kind of credibility at all. And it started to occur to me that they can't get out of it without getting rid of me, because if they bring me back, you know what's going to happen. They're going to be watching me like a hawk. They might say, you can't be quite as outrageous as you used to be. We have to clip your wings a little bit. We might make sure that you don't go banging on about migrants all the time.
Ben Habib, this is a really interesting one because, of course, you had your own run-in, I guess, with Talk ahead of the election. We've spoken about it before when Julia Hartley-Brewer, some would say, ambushed you and tried to make it look as if you were suggesting that people should die in the channel. And lots of people said that was an example of Talk TV engaging in cancel culture of people on the right. Now they're even cancelling their own presenters. Obviously, Mike Graham was the big one, but a few weeks ago, you also weighed in on the case of Lucy White, who had suggested that there shouldn't be non-British born MPs serving in our parliament. You said that even someone Pakistani born, that in your view she wasn't racist, and this was a fair enough discussion. But Talk TV came out publicly in The Guardian and said they found her comments reprehensible and they wouldn't be booking her again. So there seems to be, and the Mike Graham sacking, well, firstly, just tell me what you think about the Mike Graham thing, but then it does seem to feed into this bigger form of cancel culture happening on the right.
The right has a propensity to cancel people. They're so fearful of being undermined by the left. And the right has somehow bought the narrative of the left and is dancing to its tune. I think you said earlier, Dominic, or was it you, Dan, saying that Nigel Farage doesn't need to be on the front pages of all these newspapers. The landscape has changed, but in the pursuit of acceptability, the right often throws its own, the so-called right, often throws its own under a bus. Because if we throw them under a bus, by definition, we're sanitized. And Farage does a lot of that. He's throwing people under the bus all the time. Just at the tail end of last year, he threw a brilliant councillor, Ian Cooper, under the bus on the basis of a report produced by Hope Not Hate.
Yes.
You know, which is...
Well, he does that quite a lot.
He does that a lot, and that's unacceptable. Ian's a great guy. I stand up for him. I stand up for Lucy. The country has got to such an awful place that the radical measures required to resolve the country's difficulties, to bring us back to a position of safety, are going to be found to be dramatic and perhaps unpalatable to some. And what Lucy was saying, which I've heard so many people say, it's basically a cry. It's a cry for help. Please, can someone make sure that, in Lucy's case, our representatives in Parliament actually care about the country? That's the point she was making. We want politicians in Parliament who recognise the existence of this country, who buy into this country, have a culture that's shared with us, and will do what's right for this country. That was the central point she was making. But instead of going and understanding that point, everyone wanted to pile in on Lucy. And they've done the same with Mike. Mike has a brilliant way of being in your face in order to make a point. Like you can grow concrete. I thought that was brilliant. He had an adolescent twit on against him, and he said, "Well, I'm not going to put up with any of that nonsense." And you can grow concrete. Mike should never have been removed from talk, but I think there's another force at play here. Talk needs advertising revenue. GB News needs advertising revenue,
and are so woke.
And the ad. So, they're all woke. The advertisers are woke.
So much of it is about that. Yeah. Dominic Frisby, what did you think? I mean, I felt personally this was obviously really weird for me because there were loads of parallels to the GB News situation. I was the top-rated presenter on GB News. Mike was the top-rated presenter on Talk. Even that wasn't enough to save us, which is in some ways quite extraordinary because you'd usually think these broadcasters would follow the ratings, but it's not enough.
Well, I think the psychological dynamic that Ben just described of this fear of the left on the right and fear of the left-wing press and fear of cancellation is basically what destroyed the Conservative Party.
Yes.
And it goes all the way back to their decision to elect David Cameron instead of David Davies, who was a proper Conservative. And they elected Cameron, and there was this, he's going to be our Tony Blair, launch to the middle. And that was the beginning of the end of the Conservative Party. So that's what happens, longer term when you make these kind of decisions. And I would also say this, is what I see is the dynamic of working for somebody else against working for yourself. Now, Mike is an outspoken guy and, even if he doesn't say it on Talk TV, you probably know what he's going to think about certain issues most of the time. He's just going to be much more successful with his own platform, doing his own thing.
100%.
We're scared to go and do our own thing when we're youngsters on our career. We want the platform that is the BBC or GB News or Talk TV or whatever it is. But ultimately, you are beholden to somebody else and the whims of somebody else, and they make decisions. They don't care about you. If you benefit them, they'll carry on employing you, and if you become a problem, they'll get rid of you. And if the pain-gain equation doesn't work in your favour, you're toast. So, work for yourself, have your own platform, nobody else can cancel you.
Great advice. Great advice.
Protection only matters when it's someone else paying. Words like wired, erratic, and meltdown are used deliberately. This isn't framed as cruelty, it's framed as concern. The portrait painted is of a man, estranged from family, fighting the government, losing status, losing purpose. And doing it all in public. Here's the strategic disaster. By suing his own government, Harry makes it impossible for King Charles to maintain close contact. Any communication risks accusations of interference. So Harry isolates himself again through his own actions. The panel reminds viewers. Harry was warned. By the Queen. By Charles. By William. Security was transitional, not permanent. This wasn't betrayal. It was reality. The most controversial claim lands here. Harry is portrayed as emotionally untethered, with Meghan as the dominant force. Whether viewers see that as unfair or accurate, it reinforces a core narrative. Harry has lost his anchor. This is the tragedy angle. Titles. Wealth. Global admiration. All they had to do was show up and behave. Instead, the panel argues, grievance replaced gratitude and everything collapsed. The focus widens to institutional failure. The BBC is accused of manipulation, political bias, and protected dishonesty, particularly regarding Panorama. The irony is brutal. The same programme tied to Diana's downfall is now accused of another major breach of trust. Mike Graham's sacking becomes the example. High ratings didn't save him. Context didn't save him. The argument is clear, no one is safe once advertisers and fear take over. A warning is issued. In trying to appear acceptable, conservative media sacrifices its own voices. Fear of cancellation becomes self-destruction. The closing message is almost motivational. Work for yourself. Own your audience. Because institutions will drop you the second you become inconvenient. Now it's your turn. Do you believe? The pregnancy video cleared things up or made it worse. Meghan craves attention more than privacy. Prince Harry is experiencing a very public breakdown. The media protects some narratives while destroying others. Comment below, don't hold back. Like if media hypocrisy drives you mad. Subscribe for uncensored commentary they won't air on TV. Share this with someone who still believes the Sussex privacy story. Agree or disagree, but say it out loud.